Do you find the Minecraft oceans a little boring? Sure, 1.13 added more fish and biomes, but do you still crave more? Then boy do I have the mod for you. Introducing Spawn by Nini, a mod that adds 27 new aquatic and land animals along with 10 new biomes for them to live in. So let's start off deep down where it's wetter with the anglerfish. Spawning in the depths of the deep ocean biome, this glowy guy swims around and generally minding his own business. If you give him glowstone, then in return he'll give you 5 minutes of night vision. Honestly, it seems one of us is coming out a lot better in this arrangement. A fun detail, if you bring this guy up to the surface, he deflates from the low pressure. If you've ever seen a blobfish, then this is the same phenomenon that turns them into the blobfish. When killed, you get an anglerfish corpse that when eating gives you 5 seconds of night vision, so really you're better off keeping it alive. In the cold ocean is the tuna. Specifically, a yellowfin tuna. These guys swim around in the oceans, jumping here and there, not doing much until you decide you're hungry. Their one and only purpose is dropping tuna chunks. By themselves, they'll give you 3 bars of hunger. Now this mod requires Farmer's Delight so you can make sandwiches. Some bread and cooked tuna chunk and some lettuce, you get the tuna chunk sandwich that gives you 4 bars of hunger and a lot more saturation. But if you have more of a refined taste, then you can cut up a tuna chunk into a tuna slices. Add rice and roll it in dried kelp for a tuna roll. If you want to breed more tuna for your sushi empire, give them some fish and they'll lay tuna eggs, which will eventually hatch into baby tuna. You can bucket the tuna eggs if you want a snack on the go. Keeping to the colder oceans is the seal. You can find them grouped together on the ice or the snowy beaches. They especially like the cold islands. Barren islands found in the middle of the cold oceans. They're made up of mud, reef stone, and basalt, with a light coverage of blue flowers. As ugly as it is, it will guarantee you the most adorable of seals. During the day, they swim around looking for food and will swim around with a fish in their mouth like foxes do. If you feed them a bucket of fish, then you can use them as a surfboard. It's kind of hard to control, but it is a quick way to get around. Below the ocean's surface, where the seals will reside, you can find the spider crab, based on the real-life creature of the same name and no less freaky looking. This is one of the few hostile mobs added in by the mod. If you swim past one of these guys, I'll launch a bubble at you. If you get caught in it, you'll be sent floating through the air while freezing. So while not the deadliest creature, definitely annoying and best not to let it catch you off guard. If you do kill one, you'll get some spider eyes. While they spend most of the time in the cold ocean depths, you can find them on land in the tide pool biome. The tide pool biome is made up of all the same blocks as the cold islands, but instead of being just a rock, they are made up of a load of tiered pools. In these pools you can find loads of sea bunnies. These aren't actual mobs, they're just fancy blocks, but they're still adorable. The hazy algae block adds little bubble effects, making the water feel more alive. Rarely, you can find the moonstone lying at the bottom of these pools. But we'll cover that when we get to the sunstone, as it'll make more sense then. Last bit about the spider crab is that it can climb walls. Good luck! One of the most versatile mobs in this mod is the clam. They come in a massive variety of colours and have 3 different shapes. Only 2 of these shapes can be found in eddy biome, as the giant clam is only found in warm oceans. They chill on the seafloor or on coral blocks, spitting out little bubbles. Once they are just sat there, you can swim up and pick them up and move them wherever you like. For example, into the cooking pot. But if you put them in the oven, you'll get cooked clams. These aren't the most nutritious, given only 1.5 bars of hunger, but they can be made into steamed clam sandwiches using lettuce, tomatoes, and onions that give 5.5 bars of hunger and loads of saturation. Or cooked with bottled milk and potatoes into a clam chowder. That, while only providing 4 bars of hunger, gives comforting for 5 minutes. If seafood isn't your thing, then you can place your captured clams into a crafting table to get shell fragments. They can be used to make a net that will catch a group of fish in the same area. This only works on stuff that can be caught in buckets, and only when there's more than one in range. Fortunately, most of the fish spawn in groups anyway. The coolest thing that you can do with the shell fragments is make a pigment shifter. Once placed in water, you can use it to change the colour or pattern of a fish that you've captured. This of course only applies to fish that have multiple colourways. You can change the body shape using prismatic shards, and you can cycle the patterns using prismarine crystals. The colours can be changed using dyes. All this lets you create as many pretty fish as you like. Kind of renders any challenge to collect all the fish a little bit useless, but honestly who the hell was doing that anyway? In more tropical waters is our next fishy friend, the seahorse. They come in a few different varieties and can be modified in the pigment shifter to create even more. They bob about in warm oceans and seagrass meadows, generally minding their own business. However, there is a chance that one will spawn with a baby drowned rending on its back. Kill it and you'll get the new music disc, Waterhorse. Doesn't sound half bad. Our next mob comes with its own house, so of course it's the octopus. Found rarely in all biomes, they come in 5 different colours. They can also be found hanging around in the octopolis structures. These are a statue with a few bits of decorations lying around near them, usually fishing cages and such. But that's not the only unique feature octopuses bring to the game. They also allow you to create lock chests. To make one, find an octopus and catch it, using a bucket, a bottle, a pot, a bowl, a bell, a hopper, a goat's horn, a snail shell, or a cauldron. Such variety is due to their ability to squeeze into small spaces. Also, the textures for each of these are so cool. If you want to automate the capture of your octopuses, you can use the octoduct. When octopuses pass over it, they will be captured into the block. If you shift-click it, then it will switch it to release and dispense the octopuses back out. It's a very unique block, and I'm sure someone far better at redstone than me can figure out a way to make this useful. Once you have your captured octopuses, you can place them on the chest to make a lock. Only you, the person that placed the octopus, can open the chest. You can make a key to the chest that will allow others to open the chest by clicking on it with any item. Also, the key are bound to the octopuses, because they're the ones remembering the keys. So if you change the chest that the octopuses are attached to, then the key remains the same. If you want to unkey your key, then you just click on the filled cauldron with it, and that will make the octopus forget. One of the bigger creatures in this mod are the sunfish. Stars and memes like this. There are 4 different types for the 2 types of biomes they spawn in. The lukewarm ocean have the early and eve sunfish, while the cold ocean biomes have the starry and noon versions. They float around near the surface during the day and sink back down at night, rinse and repeat each day. An enviable life of sunbathing. They're bred using tropical fish, and their babies are quite unique as they have 3 life stages, making for a more organic growth. And aren't they just the cutest? The next deep sea creature is the barracuda, long and agile with a face only a mother could love. If you find yourself swimming through the deep warm ocean, then you may encounter these guys. They're neutral mobs, so they won't bother you unless you bother them first. If you do, they'll charge up and strike you with their powerful jaws, doing 3 hearts of damage. So I would maybe avoid fighting one unprepared. They don't drop anything, so I wouldn't go seeking a fight with one in the first place. The biome they spawn in, however, does have something to offer you. Like in the warm ocean, they have their own coral reef, made up of spike, heart, and reed coral. You may also find these reef stone spikes, which, embedded in them, is the moray crevice. Now, this is an actual mob, but every now and again a moray will stick its head out and say hello, and hopefully grab a small fish, before disappearing again. If you're really mean, you can steal its lunch by using a bucket as a fun way to gather fish. We're now going to enter our next new biome, the seagrass meadows, home of the sea cows. The seagrass meadows are found near lukewarm ocean biome, and are filled with seagrass, moldy cobblestone, and the new algal sand that will spread to other sand blocks in the meadow. There is also the big sea pickle that can be stacked to make a variety of different pickle sizes. Despite the murky green water in this biome, all these sea pickles will still leave it feeling nice and bright. The sea cows that float around the biome can be found grazing on the seagrass, slowly being covered by the seagrass themselves. It can be shaded off if you prefer to have your sea sheep instead of sea cows. The most helpful trait is that when they're fed seagrass, next time they're munching on grass, they have the chance to dig you up. Dead coral, coast and tide armor trims, sea pickles, ink sacs, bones, wet sponges, gold, copper, scoots, nautilus shells, the new school and shell pottery shards. The better fed they are, the higher the chances are that they'll find you better items. But these mobs have a cousin, the fluke shroom, found in the water surrounding the mushroom island. They're sea cows covered in mushrooms, just like cows and mushrooms. And just like mushrooms, they have a brown variant when struck by lightning and can be milked for mushroom stew. We finally made our way to the shoreline to meet the coastal crab, a small little crab that comes in 3 variants. The blue crab is found in cold biomes, mostly the cold islands. The beige crab is found in warm biomes like the desert island. And the red crab is found anywhere else that crabs spawn. They hang around on beaches and such, burying themselves in the sand to hide. The sand blocks that they hide and have a chance to become suspicious sand, so you can get some cool loot out of them, and it makes them a little less rare. If you try to kill a crab and mess up, it'll shoot a bubble at you, like the spider crabs. But without freezing you this time. If you do manage to kill one, then you get the coastal crab claw, which, when charged up, allows you to shoot the same bubble yourself. You get 20 shots before it runs out of charge, and you have to really fill in water. And I'll say I'd keep the water handy, because this thing is a pain to aim. If you don't fancy the bubble ones, then you can catch a crab in a bucket and throw it in a pot with potatoes, bacon, and onion, to make yourself some crab boil. They can be placed down and eaten with a bowl for 3.5 hunger bars. The saddest creature in the ocean is the stranded, a rusted and non-functional iron golem taken over by the sea. If you use honeycomb on it, you can loosen its joints and it will defend you once again from anything that attacks. They are found very rarely at the bottom of the ocean, lost and forgotten. Lastly, I'm going to cover all the little fish added. Herrings are found in all but the cold oceans. They swim around in little groups. They're pretty cute, swimming around together, and some genuinely impressive coding. They can be bucketed and eaten for 2 hunger bars. Makes sense, as they're just little guys. If you'd like to make them more filling, then you can slice them up and mix them with rice to make herring rolls, which give 4 bars of hunger instead. Or you can find 9 cooked herring slices to make canned herring, that only gives 1.5. A little bit of a downgrade. The next small guy is the blue fish. It's blue. Okay, there's a little bit more to it than that. They will attack any mob that gets damaged near it, so try not to get hurt around these guys. When killed, you get a blue fish that can be sliced up into blue fish slices that can be turned into a blue fish roll. That is all he does, he exists only to roll. We also have the pilot fish that swims around vibing. There's only one variant and it doesn't drop anything but bone meal. The last of our little fish is the blenny. It comes in 5 different variants. It's mostly here for the added atmosphere to the coral reefs, as it doesn't drop anything. But as I said at the start, there's not just ocean creatures in the mod. We have a whole world of creatures to discover on land. The slowest and steadiest of the land's creatures is the snail, Found in the forest, this little guy is terribly shy. If you approach one, it'll hide away in its shell. You can only approach it if you sneak up on it. But don't bother attacking its shell, only attacks over 12 damage will do anything to it. Your better move is shooting it from afar where it can't see you. What you can't see can't hurt you after all. Don't worry, its shell will grow back, so you can do this all again. With the shell, you can make a really nice block. I can see some really cool texturing with this, as you don't see too many spiral blocks. If you're more of the farming type, then you can make a potted sweet berry by putting a sweet berry into a snail shell, making them a hell of a lot easier to farm. But maybe you're also not the farming type, but instead a cook. Then take your butt over to France as we're making escargot, with a snail shell, milk, dried kelp, and mucus. For 2 hunger bars. But the shells aren't the only thing they're good for. If you wet a snail either by putting it in contact with something wet like a sponge, or the rain, or getting it in contact with water, you'll get mucus. A little grim, I know, but you were eating snails a few moments ago. Mucus can be cooked into slime, providing a nice way of getting some slimes without having to find one. Or you can turn it into a block. Walking on this block will slow you down like soul sand. If you wet the mucus, then players will be able to walk on them without being slowed, but other creatures will be. If you don't want to wet your mucus, you can use phantom membrane for the same effect. Our next land dweller is the incredibly adorable hamster, found in plains, meadows, and the newly renovated sunflower fields. If the sunflowers get a new look and will rotate to always face the sun. This mod also adds the sunflower seeds, which as you might guess is what you use to tame the hamsters. They come in 4 different colours, but I'd maybe hold off trying to complete the set as hamsters tamed by the same player will try to kill each other. Imagine my horror when testing out this mod I spawned a load in and they started eating the baby hamsters. Always read the wiki before adopting new pets. But you can tell them to sit and that'll stop them from killing each other for now. Their other behaviours include standing on their back legs when threatened, running on hamster wheels to power redstone, and picking things up in their cheek storage, which you can also use for your own convenience. Who needs backpacks when you have animal cruelty? But maybe they deserve it for all the babies they've eaten. On the topic of animal cruelty, have you ever wanted to own an ant-sized coliseum? Well, now you can! What? You've never wanted to? Well, don't judge my dreams. Here in most of the forest, plains, savannas, and the new ant gardens are the ant hills, home of the ants. You'll find red ants wherever there are ant hills, but only in the ant gardens are the black ants. Ants can have their own skills, some are quicker, some have more health or attack. You can breed ants to improve these skills and will create more fearsome warriors. Sort of like horses. Ants spend their days collecting items from dead bushes and tall grass and bringing them back to their ant hills in order to expand the ant mounds found around it. You can use the archaeology brush on them to get the loot like bone meal and other boring vanilla items, and the new pottery shards, the spade and the crown, but doing so will anger the ants. Did I mention they bite? If you find the ant mound structure, then you can find the chests that contain ant pupa and the music disc rot. The ant pupa can be hatched into tamed ants that will fight for you. If you use dye to recolor their abdomens, then they will no longer consider each other friends, and will fight a vicious battle to the death. If you don't fancy that, then you can make the ant farm, or a slightly safer place for your ants to live. Back to the ant gardens, they are littered with rotten logs, one of the 2 new wood types added in. It has a sickly grey colour to it, with all the blocks looking cracked and decayed. A perfect addition to any horror build. Our next insect is the stick bug. It's a bug that looks like a stick. They're found in forests, being sticks. If you hit them, you'll get a suspicious stick that can be used in any recipes you use sticks for. But if you kill them, then you'll get a regular stick. And on rare occasions, you'll get the music disc rain. Found on the tropical islands in the deep warm oceans is the iguana. They have 2 variants, the marine and regular iguana. The regular iguana comes in green, blue, red and white. They live on the new tropical islands. They spend their time sunbathing. When they're at their peak temperature, indicated by the saturation of their skin, then you can throw things at them to cook it, draining their stored heat in the process. At night, when the sun sets, they'll slow down and their colour will fade. When morning arises, their colour will return in the sun and they'll regain their movement. Unlike their marine friends who spend their time swimming. There's certainly the goths of the pair coming black, black and red blue. If you dust an iguana while it's a baby, it will learn to trust you. And once they're fully grown, they'll ride around on your back. Like one of those novelty backpacks. If one of those novelty backpacks was a flamethrower, as when sun charged, then on your back they'll set mobs on fire. The marine iguanas will do the same thing, but instead fire salt bullets at mobs. You get more babies through the eggs they lay when bred with dates for the tropical ones and seagrass for the marine ones. Yeah, the goths would like grass, wouldn't they? They're home the tropical islands as in a new wood type called datewood. It's a nice orangey colour with a cool texture, perfect for those tropical builds. The dangling date leaves will definitely be good for adding dimension to tree builds. Those bright red things hanging on them are the dates. They can be broken for a handful of dates that give 1.5 bars of hunger. But they can be cooked into date cookies by following the usual cookie recipe but using dates instead. To grow more, you'll need to use the date seed. This mod also adds a few birds to the roster. The first is the blue-footed booby. Yes, it's spelled and pronounced that way. Get your giggles out now because I'm going to be saying the word booby a lot more. They spawn on the new desert island. It's sandy and built from light grey terracotta covered in the new windswept grass. Blue-footed boobies will fly around on the island interacting with one another as they're quite sociable. Mating dances and everything. I said stop giggling. They drop nothing but feathers when killed, but if you breed them using fish, you'll get the blue-footed booby egg. However, sometimes their mating isn't always successful. If you do get an egg, hurl it to the wall and you'll get a baby blue-footed booby. You also get some egg fragments, which when combined with leather boots gives you the blue-footed boots, which are quite the statement piece. Added to you by your new walk animation. A neat thing about these boots is that they leave a trail of footprints behind you when you're walking, like the blue-footed boobies themselves. On top of your new fashion statement, you get a special jump boost by charging up and launching. You also get a higher swim speed and step height, so maybe they're worth the humiliation. I do feel like they need a dumb sound effect to go with them, some kind of wet smacking sound as you walk, just to make them truly obnoxious. The other bird in this mod is the elusive dodo, found only on the incredibly rare Dodo Islands, otherwise known as Mauritius. The only way you can find this island is by using the Lost Island Explorer map, found inside items in a bottle. Occasionally while you're wandering on the beaches, you may find a bottle sticking out of the sand. Break it and you may get one of the few items such as sugar, gunpowder, cocoa beans, seeds, and of course the Lost Island Explorer map. The island is home not only to the dodo, but also to the torch and pitch flowers. It's a nice way to add that ancient lost in time vibe to the island. The dodos themselves are happy little grey and blue birds that wander around the island minding their own business. If a hostile mob spawn, they'll fight it by spitting watermelon seeds at it. Since it's their favourite, you can feed them melons and its seeds, but you cannot breed them. All the dodos that spawn on the island are the only ones you have until you find another island. And true to history, you can eat them, for a whopping 10 bars of hunger. So will you let history repeat itself? Also, this is Dodo Disc Dally. For our second to last mob, we're going to look at the hostile mob added in. As yes, it's not all just sunfish and rainbows. This is the barbed. They're found in warm oceans, and are a drowned skeleton covered in spiky barbs. They swim around in the ocean until you get too close, where they will launch sea urchins at you that explode, dealing 6.5 hours of damage. To kill one, you just have to dodge the sea urchins and kill it like you would any other mob. When it dies, it drops bones and dead sea urchins. There's also a barbed music disc. I'm not sure where you get this from, as it's not a drop and the barb don't have their own dungeon. The last mob we'll be covering is the most unusual. Everything we've seen so far has been relatively grounded in reality, except this one. If you head to a volcanic island, a variant of the previously discussed tropical islands, with blasted sand beaches and ash floating through the air, you'll find a large volcano, made of basalt and heliostone filled with lava. On rare occasions, the volcano will erupt. The amount of smoke will increase as the world shakes. Chunks of unstable heliostone will be launched from the volcano onto the surrounding island, with some really cool particle effects. Not really the point of a natural disaster. The unstable heliostones can be broken through a random selection of ores in the rare diamonds. From this chaos, the Fire Keepers will spawn. They have 60 HP and will fire their sun lasers at you and setting you on fire, or they'll stamp on the ground throwing you back. If you get a little too close, they'll use their melee attack on you. While this sounds tough, they aren't too difficult to take down, just come prepared with some decent armor and a water bucket. Which is a good thing, as you'll probably have to kill quite a few, as occasionally they'll drop the Sunstone. If you place a Sunstone on stone, deep slate diorite, andesite, granite, or tuff, then it will turn them into heliostone over time. On top of this is a very cool decorative block. Heliostone can be turned into all of the usual stone block variants. This was quite cool, as when lava or another heat source is on, it will glow and adopt a warmer colour scheme. Oh, you may remember that I mentioned the moonstones found in the tide pools. These do the opposite of sunstones and turn heliostone back into regular stone. So if you make too much or you want your regular stone back, then you can do just that. If you want to live on the island, which who could blame you, the volcano would make a very eye-catching garden ornament. And throw a moonstone into the centre to silence it. If you feel that life has gotten a little too cozy and domestic, or you really want to ruin your friend's day, then you can launch a sunstone in there to turn it back on. Well, now that we've met all the creatures in this mod, we can move on to some of the other features. The first is the dragon reeds. These act like firefly blushes, but instead of generating fireflies, particles, they create dragonflies. They're mostly found submerged in swamps, but can also be found in the rivers of other warm biomes like jungles. There are 4 variants, one for each season, which produce different colours of dragonflies. A nice way to add some ambience to the world. In a similar vein is the zombified flower found on the jungle floor, that will generate fire particles around it. Those flies can also be found on zombies and husks, for very appropriate reasons. For more portable flies, you can use the bottle flies that will temporarily spawn a handful of flies. If you want more decorations, then you can find barnacles, sea stars, dead urchins, and dead sea stars. They spawn on the beaches and under the sea, in multiple variants for plenty of added colour to the beaches. Now, this may be surprising, but there is still one biome we haven't covered yet, which is the rocky shore. This is a big beach covered in windswept grass and reef stones jutting out of the sand. And that's really all there is to this biome. I guess you'll also find a lot of crabs there. The very last thing we're going to cover are the paintings. This mod adds 3 new paintings to the game, and I think there's a clear favourite here. But that is the last thing from this mod, bringing the showcase to an end. This is one of the best animal mods out there. Each creature feels unique with some incredibly creative and well thought out features. It's a very vanilla friendly mod, nothing feeling too out of place in the base game. I wouldn't be surprised if this mod started cropping up more and more in Vanilla Plus mod packs. The mod is still under development and being actively worked on with regular updates, and there was a few while I was working on this video. So as always, the mod download and Discord along with any other links I thought were useful will be down in the description. Thank you to Tari for recommending this mod, If there is a mod you'd like to see me check out in the future, let me down below, along with what your favourite part of this mod is. And so, as the night draws in, I must bid you all a good night.